Hey everybody, Big Toad here, and welcome back to my studio. I haven't done as many videos in the last couple of weeks because I've been finishing up that big 6 foot by 3 foot painting that's a commission, which is done now. Now it's drying in my studio, and I was working on another painting for someone, and I at the same time, so I had to finish that one up as well. So now I'm back to my regular scheduled programming here with a new video, and I'm going to be painting a stream with some old stumps and brilliant bushes and pine trees. I'm calling it Two Stumps by a Stream. So here's my concept sketch that I did for a composition. As you can see in the foreground, the closest foreground, you have some rocks, some boulders at the edge at the bottom with two old stumps, one sticking up straight and broken off on a little hill towards the front. And the second one is kind of a more gnarly looking stump that's kind of disappearing off the painting. You're wondering whether it's a stump or a full dead tree or what, but they'll both be dead. Then next to that, you see a little stream coming down with a couple rocks next to it. And on the left, I have that pine tree there with some pine needles bunched up coming off of it. And right behind that is a big brush pocket, I guess I would call it, a big bush or bushes or clump of bushes on another little slope that slopes down to the creek. And you can see I put in markers for the shadows. The light's going to be coming from the left, and so I'm going to have lots of nice dark shadows coming across this painting. And then I have two pine trees just behind that bush, a little bit to the right, off center, and then a mountain in the distance with a sky. I think I'm going to do the sky and a variety of blues. And so I'm going to put this on a little larger board than I often do. I just feel like this just look better on a little bigger board. So I'm going to do that. Let me go now to my sketch in on my board. So I did not do a great job on the video in this section. I'm a little lopsided and off. Forgive me for that. The next one's going to be better. But for my sketch in, rather than go right to paint, I've got these charcoal sticks that I purchased off Amazon. So I spent $13 plus shipping, and this is 100 pieces, way too many. I will probably pass these on to my grandkids when I die. But the charcoal's nice to work with. It gives you a nice dark line, and you can rub it off pretty well with a paper towel. Doesn't impact your drawing space too much, and it makes a nice line pretty quick and easy. So I'm going to try it out and see how it works. If not, my grandkids will get it early before I die, and they can use it to draw on sidewalks and stuff. But $13 gets me a lifetime supply of charcoal sticks. So when I go from my sketch to my board, it's not unusual for me to make alterations to my my sketches, to my drawings, and so I will make those as I go along and make adjustments. Spacing and such is a little bit different on the boards. Sometimes I'm doing my sketches. I don't always do them perfectly to scale, so I end up with more or less space or something like that. And that's not a big deal. Now, the concept or the idea for this painting really just popped out of my head. As far as the composition goes, I usually do 4 sketches to a page. I drew this one up, and then I set it down and thought about it for actually a couple days and decided, I like this. I could do variations, but I know that I didn't feel like any variations really came to mind that I thought might be doable, and I just really wanted to do this one. So it didn't take me a long time. So again, this one just off the top of my head. I suppose it's just maybe inspiration from things I've watched lately on YouTube. I don't even know. I can't point to anything that has this composition. It is it is a good composition. As you'll notice, there's lots of zigzags going across the board based on the landscaping, the shadows, and the trees, and the stream, and the mountains. And so you're bouncing back, and you're running back and forth diagonally. Lots of a Z kind of pattern across here. So when I started blocking in, I wanted to have an underlayment of a purplish or violet color. So I went with dioxidine purple right out of the tube and thinned it down. And I put that behind the sky and on mountains, the stream, and the brush pocket. And I'm going with a dirty yellow, a little bit of Naples yellow and cad yellow light, and then I muddied it up a little bit with some purple to deaden it some, and then on this block in, I'm thinning these paints down pretty heavily with mineral spirits so that they will dry quickly. Mineral spirits is great to get your block in to dry fast, that first layer or two, but then you don't want to really use it in your paints later because it does impact the pigments and make it, and so you don't want that to happen. It makes your pigments separates them a little bit, and they don't adhere as well. And there's other chemical things that happen that just weaken it. I did wipe off some of the paint as I put it down, just make sure there was no excess. Here on this section, I actually used cad yellow medium and thinned it down with with mineral spirits. I want that section, that area there, to be a little higher chroma. That is where I want the focal area to be, the focal plane there. The front section on the right with the stump and the rocks, that's going to be lower chroma and a little darker. I don't want that to be the focal area, although you could do that, but I don't want that. I want that to not be the focal. So the stumps on the right with the rocks are going to be a little duller, a little darker. I'm going to put the focal area in the brush pocket with some nice high chroma yellows and orangish hues in order to make it really look sunshiny. And and some of that and the grasses and on the ground there in that area. I'm also going to be blocking in some shadows as well when I do this. I'm going to really emphasize the light and the shadows. This composition, I can really leverage light better in this. Like I said, when I was doing that big painting, painting I just did, that 6x3 of that Idaho Butte in foothills. That was a difficult composition because of the terrain and how big it was, as far as to really bring in a lot of shadows across the foothills. The sun just washes over those foothills so well, and when it's high, those hills, the foothills aren't as steep. So, but here I'm really going to take advantage of some shadows and light. I'm blocking in these trees with some burnt sienna. Again, I'm going right over the yellow that I put in for them. That's fine. It's a block in, and if those colors bleed through a little bit in my final, that's perfectly okay. It'll work. So I'm going to differentiate those in my block in with that burnt sienna that's, again, thinned down with mineral spirits. And I use Sunnyside, which is an odorless mineral spirit, which is reasonably priced, being odorless. My wife does not like the odor of mineral spirits and such. So here I'm going right in with a really dark, deep brown that I mixed up with burnt sienna and ultramarine blues, or maybe a cobalt blue. Yeah, and I left it on the brown side of things. Again, this is going to be dark in this corner based on those boulders, and I'm wiping off the excess so it's not too heavy. I just want that. I want to wait till later to really emphasize the darkness of that. But this blocks it in on a nice dark hue. I'll probably shift it more towards blues and grays as it progresses, and then some of this brown will peek through through the painting. I'm going to use that same color to put in some shadows in my composition to really bring out the light. So both of those stumps are getting a little work on them with shadows. Again, shadows are really a great tool for your compositions when you're doing your landscapes. They provide so much depth, so much character to your landscapes that if you can learn to manage your shadows, they're going to help in many ways. And perspective as well. Perspective. Shadows add to perspective as well. And so I'm marking the shadow across the stream, and then there's going to be some of that shadow from that tree. So there's going to be a lot of shadow and darkness in that, with a few bits in that foreground on the right, with where some light may hit it and be a little brighter, but not a lot, just to hints of it here and there. So putting in the shadow for that big brush pocket and how it's going to come down and hit the creek. I'm blocking in a couple stones on the opposite side of the shore. I don't know. We'll see where they go. I may put some more in, or fewer in, or maybe put some stones in the stream. We'll see how it inspires me as I move along and what it looks like. The stream, I want it to be nice, but not so much a focal point, maybe a secondary focal point, because it cuts through there. I'm gonna block in those two trees in the background. And careful not to make them the same size, nor start them on the same level of the board or the canvas there. So bring that in. And I'm using a rather large brush. This is a synthetic, I think it's size 6 for all this block in here that I'm doing. And I could have grabbed a natural bristle. Maybe I wouldn't have had to find the lines on the block in. I just think for the block in, this was fine. I want to give my tree some character, and in order to do that, in order to give them character, I do need a little more control over those lines. Otherwise, the character is in the shape of the leaves only. But I want those trunks, the tree trunks and the stumps, to have character. Those two stumps on the right and the main tree on the left, I want character in the shapes of those. So I will emphasize that a little bit. And then I'm going to also take advantage of lost edges and stuff in this as well. So that's my block in to this point. I just wanted to do a quick video and show you what we're working on here. And again, this is Two Stumps by a Stream. And thanks for watching this little video, and I will be back here in the next day or two with volume 2 when I begin the ugly bits of the painting. And so for now, this is the Big Toad, and I am out.